I talking?
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know you hear me talking. Still didn't able to call. Holy cow. Paolo, who just came by and still doing a ramp for moms out
the music.
It's loud. It's loud, fam. You're all in purple, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the TruthWire. I am your host, Craig Pasta-Jardula, and
I am Fiorella.
And of course, Jayme CheeseSlice Isabel on the ones and twos, guys. Thank you so much for watching this pickup show today. If you're watching on Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, are we even on Rockfin anymore? We're on Rockfin too. If you're still one of the lone survivors out there, man, that platform. I know that a lot of people have been upset with them, but I still remember the fact, fam, that when YouTube demonetized us, they let us go over there and at least temporarily set up shop. But I don't know why I can't pull my old videos out there. It's important we do because there's a lot of COVID videos during the COVID era where a bunch of fascist lefty, fam, you were awful. You didn't wear your mask outside. What is wrong with you? People like us were kind of shut down. You know what I'm saying? We didn't take the shizot, but we told you about it. We were one of the first to tell you about ivermectin. Don't you like it, fam? There's a lot of people out there now yapping, and acting like they were there when they weren't there, when we were taking a chance as lefties getting, what's the word? Persona non grata.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when they grabbed a microphone out of your hands? Come on, fam.
Yeah. Y'all remember that? There were some people there that were happy about the job at that time. By the way, there's going to be a lot more coming on ivermectin because there's a lot of things I'm going to start talking about regarding cancer, regarding the effect of these drugs on ivermectin and fenbendazole in particular on cancers that have metastasized. And I've been following this for the last few months, and it is really there are a lot of studies that have been done on animals. There's a lot of anecdotal studies from patients that have been taking ivermectin and fenbendazole and have allegedly been recuperating according to these studies. So I'm going to be doing a lot of we're going to be doing more conversations on that, because the first phase was the horse dewormer, ivermectin for COVID. But now that, like we said, right, we didn't know that this experimental vaccine was going to have, we didn't know the side effects, but we knew that there were going to be side effects. And we're 5 years out. And this is when you're seeing the most sudden deaths, whether it has to do with the heart or whether it's cancer related, these quote unquote turbo cancers that have been coming out. And it's important because a lot of people that are in our community have been facing sudden cancers, have been facing just, if you look at the increase in that. And so I think this is something that Pasta and I are going to discuss, but I'm definitely going to lead the charge with this one because it is important. And there are a lot of things that can be said about it. I wouldn't even be talking about it. You guys know I don't talk about things that I can't prove, that I can't have some sort of like evidence on it, right? And there's been a lot of conversations, a lot of doctors talking about this the same way it happened with COVID. So now we're seeing the results of that. And I just wanted to mention that since you started out with ivermectin, because that's where we're going to go. That's where I'm going to shift for a few of the next few shows, start talking about the stuff that nobody's really talking about that is happening before our eyes. And it's very, very important that people know about it. And it does, Pasta, give us some sort of, what do you say?
Cred?
Yeah, cred, but like we're vindicated. That's the word I was looking for. We've been vindicated from the beginning on this. And there's just so many more things that have been done with ivermectin and now other types like that are being used to help people who have been affected, right, by these vaccines, admittedly now by the CDC. The side effects have been admitted. There's been countless studies done on fertility. These are things we were even talking about then. And so, yeah, so that's I think an important topic that we'll cover next time that we do our show.
I am glad, and I look forward to you taking the lead and taking the charge on this. And I'll kind of sit back and hang off your coattails on this because I know it's so important to you and so personal to you. And it's kind of personal to me because I'm going to go on that ivermectin fen push. I am feeling so much better. I am off the steroids for the first time and not flaring up. I want to thank Miriam Hanen out there, Honey Colony, who's helped me out, Amber King, who's given me the Roberts formula to repair my gut. We are thinking, I mean, I've just had such a crazy, kind of like experience with my mother and her stroke and dealing with the insurance and dealing with their thoughts on
Oh
ivermectin
my
and
God,
stuff.
the insurance.
It's and for what I've been going through, but what we're seeing right now, and the thing that's really sad about it is, I think when you talk about Dr. Villa and the conference you went to, a lot of those people have stayed out of the fray when it comes to other subjects. They've been staying in their lane, but there's a lot of those frontline doctors, like Dr. Urso, who always makes comments about what's going on. That particular group very much mimic what Robert Kennedy did. They got Israel and Gaza so wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What Netanyahu did with the shot and treating his people like a petri dish. We should be scared when those things happen. But I mean, now I'm at a point where I'm recovering and I've turned the corner, and it was a scary experience because I never went through something like this in my whole life. I mean, I've had inflammation and eczema for quite some time, but nothing like what I just experienced. And now part of the recovery process, which I think we need to start talking about, because we're talking about cancer patients now, not just ivermectin being used in a parasitical way to get rid of the parasite. Same thing with Fenben. It's what those two particular drugs that are off patent, cheap. Big Pharma can't make a lot of money off it anymore. It's one of the reasons why they're not really going there. But what they actually do to improve the negative cells in your body. You know what I'm saying?
Stem cells.
This is huge. But I mean, I think we also have to start, and maybe fam, I'd like to kick up this year the food, right? What's going on with our food? Because there's a good chance that a lot of my illnesses came from glyphosate. What we do to our flour and our food, and it just kind of, a lot of the fast food I had in my 30s and my early 40s, I think it hit dormant, a lot of that stuff. And then when the gut busted, it went into the blood. Inflammation was there. My whole body, my immune system was attacking itself. This is something that Del Bigtree talks a lot about, the immune system attacking itself. And I also took some vaccines when I was inside the Navy. So that's something to consider. Your thoughts, fam? Go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, it's the food. It's all sorts of things. Everything from what we eat, from also the shedding that's been happening. There's a lot of these things that are happening, and I think we need to really focus on, especially on health. But again, this is also financial, right? We're talking about the finances of the average American person has completely gone down the drain. And when I'm in Russia, and when I'm in pretty much any other country, the food there is significantly better. I mean, it just is. It looks better. It has a different color to it. The lifestyle is better in terms of walking, in terms of health, in terms of how people are internally there. It's not just a matter of genetics. It's also a matter of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And the lifestyle that we have created in the United States, that's been created for us, is a lifestyle to make you sick. The healthcare system is, as Pasta has called it, a sick care system. They do not profit if you are healthy. There wouldn't be this multi-billion-dollar industry for healthy people. So there is no incentive to resolve issues. The same treatments that were used on cancer 20 years ago are being used today. Yeah. There has been little to no advancement on that. It is, palliative care, death sentence, and how do you get these things, right? They don't want to know. They don't really care about what is causing this at all. So this is now a full-on attack, I think, on another level. Because the unhealthier you are, the easier you rely on big pharma. The unhealthier you are, the more easily you rely on any sort of quick fixes. And it's hard to get out of that once you're there. And this is why so many people are moving away from the United States, because it's everywhere. So on that, since that was just a side thing, but we will be talking more and more about all sorts of things, but in particular this, as it's now finally gaining traction on the possibilities of all of this. So Yeah.
I want to send a special shout out to Applejack, who's there, Cam Schwari, Kate, of course, Gabrielle Freedom. We love you. And of course, fam, we got to take on who? Who do we got to break down? The deep state. Send some love to those people out there. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, we know who that is. Natalie Triumphs. Wink, wink, wink. We love you, alias. And Jose Vega, man. I had a long conversation with Jose. I think Jose is doing some great work. Now that I'm going to getting healthier again, I'm going to get my ass out to New York. You know, I do the show later on today on WBAI. Drive Time. That's been fascinating and fun. Fam does her show with Vanessa Beeley, and that has been amazing too as well. But let's get into it, fam, because a lot of the things we talked about. I mean, holy cow! Had you listened to a lot of this news? By the way, I don't know if you saw it. New York Times, Sabby Sab sent me the article. YouTube is starting to settle out some lawsuits from demonetizing and censoring people years ago during the COVID era. So I sent some messages to my lawyers to see if they can look onto that. What's up, friendly? I sent some messages out to our lawyers to see if they can look at it and stuff, because if that's the case, fam, they owe us a very, very, very big check. And that's just something. Listen, we've been talking about the censorship for quite some time. And when you go against the grain, you know, you leave yourself out there to some serious punishments. But that's let's talk about. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, let's go into that. Let's start out talking about that. But this is part of the reason why I'm so suspect about this entire Charlie Kirk thing, right? And we're going to start with the beginning, because yesterday was October 7th. And just first of all, the October 7th anniversary, I can't even call it that, right? It's 2 years since this genocide began, since Israel used the music festival, the Nova Music Festival, to accuse Hamas of committing unspeakable crimes and of killing the people that they actually imposed the Hannibal Directive on, and that they assassinated their own. And since this whole thing started, of course, we have seen on our screens, whether phone, computer, television, we have seen the death and destruction of the Palestinian people in Gaza. We have seen the advancements of Israel into South Lebanon, into Syria, into the occupied Palestinian territories known as the West Bank. We have seen the attacks on Iran and the remaining potential there for a U.S. war against Iran. We have seen even attacks in Iraq, and also, of course, the attacks on Yemen, who Ansarullah have been very, very much continuously defending Palestinians. We have even seen most recently the flotilla that came under siege. Now, this flotilla was several flotillas. There have been flotillas for decades now, almost 20 years or more.
Something about that real quickly too, fam. That you did a video years ago. And remember, it was you and Cynthia McKinney. I know, because I set it on up and produced it. And you guys talked about that experience. That was years ago. I'd like to see her get back out there and talk about that, because she was one of the first. She was arrested. She was there for 2 days. You did a video on this years ago. But this is also something that's really kind of fascinating right now, fam, is seeing a lot of these people on the populist right, these conservatives, whatever you want to call them, talk about things now today as pertaining to Israel, you know, where they're pushing back that we were talking about years ago. I mean,
almost a decade ago.
I mean, well, you know, late to the party, fine. Affecting a different crew, fine. That's fine. But holy cow, fam. It's crazy to see this stuff. However, I think that some of the solutions, I was listening to Owen Schroyer the other day, and he was saying, we just shouldn't be dealing with that. We need to step out. You're not getting any money. We're leaving. We're walking away. I think that's a very myopic way of looking at things, because all these situations wouldn't happen. And this is the argument right now. Who's zooming who? Who's wagging the dog? Is Israel calling the shots because they have everybody in the United States compromised? Or is the United States calling the shots and Israel is just going along? What, you know, are they one and the same? I mean, this is something you pointed out when it came to the whole Charlie Kirk thing, because people were blindly blaming Israel. A lot of those people on the populist right, Candace, Myron Gaines, whatever you want to call them, they blame Israel like they're separate. And that, to me, takes away any accountability from what the empire is doing, fam. Go ahead.
That's purposeful. And that's kind of what I want to discuss. That's done on purpose, because there has to be a difference between the United States and Israel, right? We can't be that Like, but and now Trump is a victim. Trump is now a poor man that's just captured and he can't do anything about it. I'm sorry, but that is a narrative that is being pushed by beyond Candace now, by a lot of people. And so I want to break this down. I because this nobody's talking about this, by the way. Nobody's really talking about what we're going to talk about in this way, because we're not going to talk about Charlie Kirk the same way that all of the YouTubers and podcasters are talking about it. That, oh my God, breaking news.
He found Jesus, Sam.
He came to Candace in a dream and he told her that he was betrayed. Look, like, do I believe that dreams have significance? Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. But this is just become a show, because as I was saying, Jayme, you can go ahead and put in the first tweet. We had the 2-year anniversary of October 7th. And we had, of course, 2 years since all of this happened. And if you guys remember, you can turn down the volume, but you can show the Apache helicopter, if right, that really showed them firing onto their own people. Okay. And this was then people were saying, you know, is this real? This is fake. No, it was real. It was real. They admitted it on, you know, the most pro-Israel news outlets admitted this. And so now 2 years later, people have forgotten what this is about. And this isn't about, you know, which podcaster decided to turn on Israel because they lost $2 million. This is about Palestinian people still getting killed and people still pushing the same type of solutions, like a 2-state solution, still 2 years on, after we've seen all of this, after we've been seeing this just absolute holocaust of these people that has been happening. How? You know, I remember people saying, how the hell did people not stop the Holocaust that happened back then? Why? How did people not do anything? Well, what are we doing now? We're so fixated on Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk that people completely forgot about this. That and I notice it because usually the news that I see is different when I'm in Russia than when I'm here. So when I'm here, the level of knowledge that people are discussing just goes like this, on a decline. I mean, we are so self-centered, and like none of this matters to people in the region. You go to Lebanon, you go to Syria, you go to any of these places, you go to Russia, you go to, that's not the major thing being discussed. Sure, you know, the Russian mainstream is going to discuss it with the selective, you know, narrative pushers, but it's not going to be in general. People are not discussing this in the world, especially with the state of the world and how it's looking, right? So this is what I said. I said, just while podcasters are obsessing over Charlie Kirk, who only shifted his stance on Israel, by the way, because what Candace's texts prove, and I think they're real, do prove that he was, in a way, upset that he's losing money because he wanted to keep Tucker and her on, right? Like, so he's losing money for that, and he didn't want to be controlled. Jumping from that to say that we know exactly what happened, that it was Israel, and speaking and putting your own emphasis and obsessing over it is a whole other thing. You know, I think both Pasta and I don't buy the establishment narrative. We haven't bought an establishment narrative for a long time. But again, what it seems like to me, and what Pasta just pointed out earlier, is that there seems to be this separation of the United States empire, Trump, and Israel. There seems to be a continuous attempt to create some sort of quarrel between the United States and Israel. And we have seen this theater manifest itself as if there is some sort of quarrel between the Trump administration and Israel, when Trump's administration is entirely Zionist, when Trump's administration continues to give it the weapons, the money it needs to continue its onslaught of the Palestinian people, to continue, of course, the final solution, which is what we should be talking about.
Yeah.
This
is Netanyahu on a leash, right?
Yeah. Well, I would even say he's on a leash, but I would say they're par for the course. What? Oh, okay. I was like, because they're par for the course. I mean, if you look at Trump's associations, even within his own family, the Kushners, right? this is all part of it. They're set to profit. If you look at him as a businessman, which he is, he's set to profit off of the complete and total plan to turn Gaza into resort property, essentially. Like that's the plan, and that's a very business plan to have. There's no, I mean, if you look at it coldly that way, that's what they're planning on doing, and that hasn't changed. You can talk about, oh, he was mad, he wagged his finger at Netanyahu, he said you should accept the deal, but I've seen things reported on shows, on YouTube shows, on independent media that have been factually incorrect. Hamas never accepted to completely leave. That was reported as fact by many people. That just wasn't the case. You have to go to the media of the local region that is not infiltrated by Qatari or Saudi Arabian influence, because otherwise you're just getting the wrong information. Hamas was trying to entrap Donald Trump into basically making putting the onus on them, and that was what they did, but the media made it seem like they gave up. And so you have to watch out for these narratives that are being promoted out there. And people were saying, oh, this is that means Trump is really trying, that he's feuding with Netanyahu. It's just not, that's just not what's going on. Everything that the Trump administration has been doing has been to expand the Israeli interest, and there's no denying that.
Can I piggyback on that? It's not just to expand the Israeli interest, right? And this is when I think we have to start measuring, fam. We have to start looking at the situation as like, well, are they one and the same? Are the Rothschilds? Because I used this term Western elites the other day. Like I said, is everything done at the behest of Israel? In other words, if the United States bombed Somalia, did they go and ask permission from Israel, or did Israel tell them to do that? I mean, are they separated, or are they one at the hip now, the globalists? Because there is a global kind of cabal working together, and it doesn't just exist with foreign policy. Yeah. It has a lot to do with the home countries and making sure they track and trace everybody. But I think that's something we have to start questioning. Are they one and the same? Are they together? It's not just to benefit Israel. A lot of things are to benefit the track and trace security state, the data mining that's going on, the making sure they have tabs on everyone everywhere. They don't want people traveling. The 15-minute city thing. I mean, this seems like an overall plan, and they're just making sure that Israel gets their stuff taken care of, their colonization gets taken care of too as well. I don't know. It's just, it seems like there's an overall plan that's being benefited, not just Israel, because what Donald Trump is doing, like it's about Agenda 2030, the way he's pissing on the Constitution. No president has shat on the Constitution as much as Donnie Tiny Hands in this particular situation. No due process, making executive orders that say they're going to send you to jail for a year if you burn the flag. They don't care about the First Amendment, handing everything over to Palantir. This is all, right? They want martial law everywhere. Yeah. The National Guard, Kit Cabela just sent me a text that it was the Chicago Tribune on the cover. It says the Texas National Guard has arrived to Chicago. And when Donald Trump said the other day in front of the generals, when he was talking about using the states as a practice ground, to practice on what to do, using the National Guard, the military on its people, that should frighten the shit out of you. So there seems to be multiple agendas working other than just one, fam. Now, does it seem like Israel's needs are at the top of that list? Yeah, absolutely. And watching this happen in front of our eyes is very scary, fam.
Can you put on the next thing, Jayme, so we can move along? I agree, Pasta. And to answer your question, I want to say that, it's beyond Israel. And you can go ahead and put that up, because so what you're talking about, this global elite, or this global predator class, as we would call it, right? It extends beyond Zionism, beyond Israel, certainly Zionism as a part of it. Because this isn't, do you recall everybody, right, saying that we voted for Trump to end the war in Ukraine, or we voted for Trump because it's just one issue. I remember, it's just one issue. He's going to be the peace president. He's going to protect free speech. He's not going to start any wars. He absolutely failed to do any of this. Absolutely failed to do any of that. And they're trying to convince the Trump supporters that, okay, Israel's the problem too. We'll control Israel, but we got to get rid of the illegals coming into this country. And you have to accept this digital surveillance coming in order to allow that to happen. And these people are falling for it, hook, line, and sinker. They're absolutely becoming just as fascistic as the liberals were during the 2020 COVID era. And so this is the era we're in, and each side keeps just kind of like taking more and more and more and more. And when you talk about any sort of saving coming from one side, you're still not understanding the problem. People are still trying to put their hopes on Mamdani, trying to put their hopes on AOC is going to run for president, that we predicted like years ago. And you have also on the Trump side, you have these new people coming up that are going to save everybody, on the right, that they're going to lead everybody away. They're going to go after Israel. But at the end of the day, you just watch. Well, you can't bookmark this, but you can save this. There's going to be a shift with all these people that are suddenly attacking Israel when it comes to war against a Middle Eastern country, which I think that will be Iran. There's going to be a false flag it's gonna bring them back into America, and once again go towards that route. Why? Because there's a reason why these people are talking about Israel now. There's a reason why these people are finally allowed to say it. Why they're not taken down, by the way, for attacking about Israel the way they are. Why they're allowed to do so, and why now at this very moment when we're seeing things happening behind the scenes with the potential false flag from Iran on Iran that the United States and Israel are planning, this is all going this route. Because it's become popular to hate on Israel. I mean, nobody likes Israel. I mean, right now, left, right, it doesn't matter. Like Israel has done that to itself. It's been exposed. So what can the elite, because this is beyond Israel, as you said, Pasta. This is a supremacist, fascistic takeover. Israel is one facet of it. Zionism is a huge portion of it. It is a supremacist ideology that thinks that they are the chosen ones. And in very much in any sort of occult circle, where you have these people that are part of these families or that are elites or part of the global elite class, this is how they operate. And this is how they think. They think that they can control the world, that they are entitled to do so, and that this is the way to do it. And it's beyond Israel. It's beyond the United States even. But of course, these are the two most influential facets of it. So what we're seeing is pretty much the beginning of all of that, while we're being distracted by a lot of these people that have been essentially coming from mainstream media, going into the independent space and taking it over. Right? Because if we go back to how many years ago now, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, right? When we started the show, none of these people, neither Tucker, Candace, all of these right-wing podcasters that, got really popular, none of them were on independent media. They were all in the mainstream media. And if you've noticed,
where was Candace?
She was either on Blaze or Fox. I don't remember. She was on one of the outlets.
She was on Blaze? No, she was the Daily Wire, right?
Maybe she was one of the right wing ones. I don't remember where she was, but I mean, Tucker was on Fox. So all of these people were like in more mainstream networks. And then they had created this podcaster right wing community like Charlie Kirk, who went out in college campuses and stuff. So they started like rising up that way on the right. But what were they talking about? They were doing the whole immigrants, the whole, left versus right stuff, right? That's how they got popular.
Yeah.
Very neoconish type of sentiments. Well, if you look at now, let's say 8 years later, since all of that, what we're seeing here is pretty much that the independent media, which was independent. You largely made up your own conclusions. You largely researched and sought out information for yourself, and you started questioning things right from the mainstream. The independent media has been captured essentially by these main voices, which are almost gatekeeping the narratives. And they are gatekeeping these narratives because what they say goes. So in the same way that you had CNN, CBS, the New York Times, blah, 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 gatekeep these narratives that now nobody is watching that. So what did the establishment and intelligence have to do is set up another layer of alternative media with figures coming from the mainstream that are basically taking over independent media and setting up the narratives that are anti-establishment but controlled, because you can't win by simply opposing the anti-establishment narrative anymore, because nobody's watching CNN, nobody's watching these mainstream media. So that's been done. You need people who know how to do it right. So you're going to go to the YouTubers and these people that are coming from the mainstream that have been able to capture a lot of the attention in the audience. And that's essentially what's happened. And we're essentially captured. Independent media is captured, is mostly no longer independent. It's essentially just operating under the same type of narratives.
Fam, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it's a perfect time to bring in our producer. What's up, Fred? I still have the show at 4 p.m. Eastern today, drive time. We'll be doing that later. This is a special show, so me and Fam can get together and talk about this. Fam is talking about the gatekeeping of mainstream media outlet people who have now kind of moved into the space of independent media. Now, I would say that none of this is we can't see anything until we get full transparency on what's going on behind closed doors, how they're getting lifted. We're still getting suppressed because that's still going on. Like, we don't know who's getting put down, who's getting put up. But people like Jayme and I were having a conversation before we got started, and Jayme was praising a little bit about Tucker and Candace. I don't want to say he was like praising them, but he was saying what the job they're doing and that they need to be scared because they're saying so much truth that, people, that their lives could be in danger. But this is what I've been talking about, because I'm just watching the narrative management. We were also talking about the fact, he goes, could you believe the fact that we're here in 2025 and and he's heard me say it many times, you're praising Judge Napolitano, right? Like, that's my favorite show to watch. I love watching that show. It's like one of the only shows I like out there. But when I hear some of those people talk about Latin America and what's going on, it's kind of like, you guys got this a little bit messed up. Nonetheless, I think, Jayme, why it's a good time for you to come on in and talk about why really quickly. And because I want Fiorella to answer this, because a lot of people are out there. They're praising Tucker and Candace right now. Why don't you give us your thoughts on what they're doing and why you think they're being so successful? And maybe Fee can kind of push back on what she's saying right now, because I've said this to you before the show. This isn't about them talking the truth. This is more about narrative management for the establishment. Go ahead, Jayme.
Yeah, well, I didn't say the word truth. I said they're exposing stuff and stirring up. They're stirring the pot for sure. Because what I'm saying is, you were right. You absolutely need to be skeptical of what these people are doing. But when you look at the outcomes of what Candace and Tucker are doing, they are creating a rift amongst the MAGA base and that pro-Israeli sentiment. I mean, that is actually happening, and largely due to what Candace and Tucker are doing right now, and also Max Blumenthal with his reporting. But it's almost like Candace and Tucker are just verifying what Max was reporting. So the thing that I think is where your skepticism comes into play is, if you think they are just doing narrative management and they were being put over there to be planted. Like, Tucker was fired from Fox years ago, and he's changed the way he sounded since he left because he no longer has those editorial oversight. Candace has said a lot of things we absolutely disagree with, but she's not saying those things anymore, not to the degree she was, now that she's independent and gone away from the Daily Wire. So if they are a PSYOP, then you have to believe that the PSYOP that they're a part of is a long game, a very long game, because they got rid of them from their establishment positions years ago, years in advance. And so you have to accept that that's part of the PSYOP, and that's true, which is hard for me to believe and accept, because these people that were that are organizing this are mostly like the people that sit in these corporate boards, and they always think short game. They're always thinking about the next quarter. So That's where I think there's a bit of a conflict there for me to
Well,
totally buy
those
in that
aren't
it's
the people
just
making the decisions. It's the globalists above
the
them that are making
yeah,
decisions.
that's a
And,
good point too.
and here's the
But
thing: they're the same people who've been calling shit for hundreds of years. Sorry to interrupt, Jayme.
okay, and that's a good point. But when we talk about the immediate impact, like what Candace was saying that got her fired from the Daily Wire was very much the opposite of the kind of things that Ben Shapiro wanted her to be talking about. And I mean, how much? You're saying then that if she's a psyop and she's doing what she's doing now, is that she was being instructed to say those things while she was working for the Daily Wire to get fired, to make her to legitimize her as a controlled opposition
I don't
in
think.
opposition to the political
Yeah, I'm
anarchy
not
that's happening
saying
right now.
that. Well, I just want to say I'm not saying that's what that's why she was fired, like that she was controlled like that. But what I am saying is that there is a capturing of people who are coming from like the Daily Wire, the Fox News, and all of that, and being allowed to talk about these narratives and seeing the writing on the wall, the same way that Charlie Kirk saw that Israel siding with Israel all the time is becoming a losing game. I think a lot of people saw that. A lot of people, you've seen the Young Turks shift, right? You've seen like all these people, both on the left and right, shift on Israel. Can we say they shifted on Israel because what Israel is doing is so horrible that, of course, it's going to impact people? Maybe we maybe some people, but other people, it's become I go back to, it's become very financially incentivizing to attack Israel online to a degree if you're a certain person. But a lot of the people that are living in the region, a lot of the people that have been criticizing Israel for decades have not been with that financial incentivization. They have been doing it for a long time, and they are still censored. So for me, there is something then going on where only a certain amount of voices get allowed to say, and only certain people get allowed to say what they say. I'm not saying that there wasn't a genuine interest, like that Candace Owens didn't genuinely quit because she wanted to say whatever she wanted to say, but maybe there's a financial incentive too. There's a financial incentive being put out. There are so many companies that you all don't know about that are paying people to go and comment on other people's YouTube shows, to do interviews with other people, and only select people that are coming not just from the United States, but from foreign countries, including Russia and China. And so if you think that these shows that are popping up are not operated or financed by somebody, you're wrong, because they are. And I'm telling you they are, because I know that. And so it's kind of like, it's kind of like hard for me to see that when I'm looking at my X timeline, for example, and I'm seeing constantly the same type of narrative put out by this, like the same type of groups, like, and it's in my next thing. If you want to just go ahead and skip that to that, Jayme, I put several examples of the it's under the alt section in the first section.
Oh, okay.
Of just like the different tweets, like the different tweets of different people just pretty much tweeting the same thing, really focused. Like I'll scroll my timeline and I'll see, oh my God, breaking news, Candace Owens did this, look. And then, she's naming the Tate brothers, Dave Smith, Max Blumenthal, Tucker Carlson, these people all have these files, and they've been so focused on this Charlie Kirk thing. And it has been an effort to rehabilitate Charlie Kirk as some sort of martyr that died because he went after Israel, which is completely just insulting to who he was and what he said for 90-something% of his life. But even if you were to believe that, it's the hyper focusing on this by not just by them, because I can expect it, because Candace is getting very popular by talking about this. She's, I'm not saying she didn't have a relationship with Kirk, or she didn't feel the way she felt about Kirk, whatever. It does seem genuine that she cared about him. But in terms of beyond that, like it's literally all that is on my feed. Like 90% of, and it's not just them, it's literally all of YouTube talking about it. All of the YouTubers talking about it in this way. Like, Candace Owen has the receipts. She has this. Oh my God, that means that, Israel did it. She didn't even say that Israel did it.
No, she
But
didn't.
everybody else is saying that Israel did it. And maybe she's not saying that because maybe, she is afraid of flat out saying it, maybe whatever. But at the end of the day, this whole drama that's being put out, it seems to me more than anything a distraction to within MAGA. You're right that there is a fracturing in MAGA, but there has been, just like there was in the Sanders campaign and in the, the progressives. There's been a fraction. There's going to be more fractions. Like that's a given. But in this fractionalizing that's happening, and these rifts that are happening, the people aren't necessarily going outside the system. They're going back into the system. They're saying Trump's a victim. They're saying if we change Donald Trump or Netanyahu, they're not talking about the imperialism of the United States. They will all stop short of talking, as what Pasta said, about Latin America. They'll still push the immigration thing. And at the end of the day, if you don't see the whole picture, you're still going to go towards that level. You're still looking for somebody who has a mainstream media mindset to tell you what's going on. People aren't making their own conclusions anymore. They're going through their feeds and seeing this and repeating it without verification, without doing their own thinking. And so for me, that's essentially what independent media has mostly become, save like a few people. It's just a regurgitating of information. Oh, if Max said it, or if Candace or Tucker said it, then it must be true. There's no questioning of it. There's no, and again, this isn't even about them per se. It's about everybody else that has stopped making their own conclusions and having their own mind and saying, maybe this isn't like this, or maybe this isn't,
I think a lot of it's confirmation bias, fam.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, also it's really doing, the reporting is doing is showing that Charlie Kirk did have ties with Israel and Israeli propaganda.
Yeah.
That's what I think we can say. That's a fact. That doesn't prove anything about them being involved in his death. I mean, that's all speculation, and some of it's inferred. But there's none of these people that are reporting it directly are saying that Israel killed him. They're just saying this is what we knew what was happening before he died.
And all the evidence is just proving motive. We still don't have evidence out there that proves anything linking anybody to anybody. I mean, right now the FBI has kind of put this guy Tyler Robinson out there, and what they've showed is like evidence to him being shot, whether it be fake, good, whatever. But the whole thing is that the evidence that they're showing is all just proving motive, like that Israel had a motive to kill him. Oh, look, he was turning, so we had to, there's a reason to kill him.
Which makes them a suspect, but it doesn't mean they did it.
Exactly. So. There's no evidence really linking. And once again, I'm not saying that Israel didn't do it, but I'm one of those people when I hear people talk about 9/11. And by the way, my Jubilee episode came out, fam. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. Surrounded. It's got like 3 million views on YouTube. I was one of the conspiracy theorists. I didn't always believe that our government was involved in 9/11. It took years for me to kind of change my opinion on it. But about 2 years after it happened, I started looking into stuff. I'm like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that I can't be changed on this whole Charlie Kirk thing. But when you hear people say, oh, Israel did 9/11, and that's the thing. People like Myron Gaines, people like Dan Blazarian, people like Leonardo Gianni, they all have the same opinions on 9/11. They said Israel did it. That is really downplaying the role of the empire and their involvement, right? To just say that Israel did it independently is a slap in the face. There are so many people that are involved. There were so many people who benefited in the West, in the United States, the security state after 9/11. I'm not going to just, walk away and go, oh, Israel did it, because then of course, all the politicians become either blackmailed or victims. They couldn't do it. You have to go along with what Israel says. They'll ruin your life. They'll kill you. Look what they did to Charlie Kirk. Look what, you know what I'm saying? No. The United States, the Western elites, right? I don't know, the Western ruling class, whether they be tied at the hip, the same thing with those who run Israel. Okay, they had a lot to do with it too as well. So when you just say Israel did it, it's a slap in the face. It's more than just Israel.
It's a slap in the face, and it's a pushback towards the rehabilitating politicians, whether it'll be, hey, Gates came out and said that they had to wear QR codes. So maybe Gates is a truth teller now. So next cycle, we're going to go back to pushing Matt Gates. Oh, or the next person that comes along, Charlie Kirk would have run for office. We're going to have other people in that realm run for office, and it's going to be them, promising all these things. So you're still looking for that. You're still looking for the same thing. You're still replaying the same thing. And you have people that are blaming Israel now, but when it comes to 9/11, they refuse to talk about the unofficial story. Right. You like when we talk about 9/11, many of these people named here still refuse to believe the unofficial story. Like they believe the official story, So it's kind of like it's kind of telling to me like when people talk about things, we have to assess why they're doing it now. What is the gain of doing it now? It's no longer of just like taking people on their word. You can't do that anymore because a lot of the things that we see online are there's an algorithm there, guys. There's an algorithm on X. Like, why, if Elon Musk goes to visit Israel often and is Bibi's friend, why the hell is he promoting this narrative? Like, what's going on here? Like, are we going to forget all of that happened? Or are we going to forget the promotion of Oracle and many of these people in their shows? Why are we not following the money? Like, it's just weird to me. Nobody can answer that. Like, why is that okay?
Because they hate us for our freedoms, fam.
Anyway, so
get out of there, Jayme. We're done looking at your ugly face.
I wanted to make one point before I got out of here. So on this post, I know on this post that's up here, she says these people have my explicit permission to release everything publicly if anything happens to me, and that's where our discussion started earlier today. Because I said that if you look at what she's doing, she is really irritating a lot of the right people, and I said she needs to be careful because she might be the next one on the hit list. And she's even addressing it right here publicly herself. So
she might get a full-time vacation to go hang out on an island with Charlie Kirk and Epstein.
Maybe I don't know.
I mean, there's a theory Charlie Kirk is alive. I mean,
Epstein's alive too. Yeah. The theory that Epstein's alive, hiding out someplace. But yeah, that was where we started with this, and it's just interesting to me that she did this. But I will say this: the most recently thing she did was release those text messages that she got from Charlie Kirk, and
27 days later, it seems so.
Yeah, I know. This is the thing. I heard those, and my first thing that popped in my head is like, how do I know that these text messages are real and not just manufactured? But if we take her for her word, these text messages are absolutely damning. But you still got to wonder, is it real? Because we're living in the age of AI and anything could be created. So we're really just taking her
27 days later. It was the first thing I said. Like, it's so funny because people who I tend to not agree with, I'm agreeing with on this one. It's like, oh, shit. I'm in the camp. We're in the camp with some people right now that I normally don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? And once again, I think we should all lay out. I don't necessarily not think that Israel didn't have anything involved to do with his death. I'm just saying that when people just flat out give themselves confirmation bias and they want it to be Israel, they'll mold a story that will bend, turn, and twist itself to fit that narrative that Israel did it. Same way they're doing with 9/11. Israel did it. I think that's weak.
All I can say is we can't rule it out, but we can't say that's what happened either. So it's, time will tell. And hopefully we'll find out before we die.
That's a good song.
It might not come out for like 100 years, but the truth is.
Get out of the picture.
All right.
Get the next thing up for fam so we can get rolling. I love you.
Yeah, fam. I mean, I'm running out of time. If you want to go to the next thing, because I think we've discussed this at length. And I think
let's show Italy really quick then, right? Shut it down, Italy. Fam. Shut it down. Go. All I have to say is, fam, when shit hits the fan, leave it to who? The Italians. Italians come to the rescue.
The real Italians.
My lineage, my ancestry comes from that land, fam. So if you want to call me the Italian just because I've never been there and I'm from the States, so what? I have proof. My lineage comes from there. That's where I'm from. Fam, seriously, what are your thoughts? We'll get right into this. Boyo Blue, there's an article right now that's up there. And this is a great network. I love just listening to them speak, even though I don't know what they're saying. They just sound so great. Oh, now
If you
it's
had
not.
learned Spanish, you would know what they were saying because it's very, very similar.
Well, fam, I am learning Spanish. Matt, Jayme, can you put it on up, or does it come up, or does it let you translate it into English? It should. Bring it on up.
I'm trying
Bring
to
it
get it
on up.
translated right now, but I can bring it up.
Well, basically, just to let you know, it says all of Rome protests for Palestine. The government must commit to Gaza or will block everything. Shut it down. October 4th, 2025, Rome not only hosted the national demonstration to pressure the government to end the genocide in Gaza, the occupation in the West Bank, for the immediate restoration of the international law in the Middle East and around the world. All of Rome has become a procession for Gaza. Fam, I'm just going to go down to the bottom. Meanwhile, just so we know, Hamas has reportedly accepted the so-called peace indeed imposed by Trump, the U.S., and NATO. Fam, can you give us a little insight to why they accepted this deal and what it really means? Are they just trying to say, okay, we'll call your bluff. We'll accept the deal. Why did they accept it?
So they're accepting the deal in terms of what the proposal is of giving back the hostages, and in terms of laying their arms down, but allowing saying that a Palestinian ruled force will take over. They're not saying that they're going to just go away and allow Palestine to be taken over by the bureaucratic ridiculously Zionist controlled Abbas group, which is like, they're the ones that essentially control the Palestinian territories, the occupied West Bank, and they're controlled by Israel. So that's not what Hamas is saying. And a lot of this has misinterpreted and has been misinterpreted and misreported as like Hamas saying they're just going to stand down and allow, Trump and Israel to do whatever they want. But that's not the case. That's not going to happen. It's more, we're going to continue accepting the proposal. We've been accepting this whole time. But now the onus is on Israel and Trump to follow through. But they're not saying they're just going to go away and leave, Palestine abandoned with no weapons. That's not what they're saying.
I'd like to also point out, and Jayme, you can just go to the videos. Put that up really quickly. You can see just really quickly the headline or so. We can see that there's travel issues right now, right? General strikes, protests all across the country to disrupt travel and beyond. Go ahead and get to some of the video. We can see it. But let me just point out, too, as well, and thank you, Friendly Brilliant. She's put up that Hamas keeps accepting deals and Israel keeps rejecting them. And you can go ahead and play that and keep it just low a little bit, and we'll show right now. But you can see, fam, around the whole country, they're just shutting it down. General strikes, workers on the docks, people who move things around. They are ready to stand up and say no mas. But I also want to point out when it comes to Hamas, and thank God for the Italian people, we should be doing this here in the States. But once again, we don't make anything, we don't fix anything. So it's a little bit different because they have a manufacturing base over there in Italy that we do not have in the United States. So they have a little bit more power when they start striking these general strikes. You can see things just going crazy all over the place. What Hamas did, technically by international law, is legal, right? I mean, we should point that out. I'm not saying the acts they did, obviously people are pushing the beheaded babies or raping women and all that other stuff. War is disgusting, but as a resistant and an occupied group, they are allowed to legally defend themselves against that occupied group. That's why I think it's important when you and Vanessa refer to them as part of the resistance, because it does put forth in front of your face that what they did was actually legal, fam.
Yeah, I mean, they've been pushing back against an invader, of course, and the beheaded babies and the rapings have been completely debunked. And when it comes to the rapings, we have seen more stories coming from Israel and what they have been doing to people in prison as well. So, I mean, so if that's the only thing they had to go on, all of that has been completely just obliterated. And again, when people like Zoran Mamdani put out these posts like condemning Hamas and stuff, you're basically condemning people for defending themselves. And so this is why it didn't go over well. And then the Israelis are still going to be mad at you because you're not doing enough bootlicking for their Zionism. So either way, you don't win. And again, these people don't learn their lesson. They always placate to the other side. So Yeah, I mean, it's great what Italy's doing. Their government, though, isn't doing it. Maloney isn't
We'll get to
isn't
that.
doing it.
We'll get to that really quickly because in the AP article is pretty good, fam, because you're going to love this. 2 million rally in Italy for Gaza as general strike halts key services. Like I said, they're halting key services, travel. They're really putting a dent in what's going on.
I mean, we could do that too, though.
What's that?
We just don't do it. We could
We
halt
should do
travel.
it. We should do it, yeah.
We could go to the airports.
We could stop the travel. Like, once again, like I can't stand it when a lot of the protesters go and affect the people trying to drive around in the streets and stuff. I don't like that. There are people out there. I remember seeing the guy trying to get to his job, trying to get to court. He's a poor guy trying to just fit in, get his children back, whatever the case may be. And when you shut down those services, that sucks. But if you're shutting down travel and tourism, right? Well, that's the majority of people coming in. You're really sending a signal to the state. This is in Rome. More than 2 million people across Italy rallied in over 100 cities Friday for a one-day general strike to support the residents of Gaza and a humanitarian aid mission, Italy's largest union said. Italy's Italian unions proclaimed that the strike after the global summit flotilla, Samud, fam? I'm sorry. That was trying to break Israel's naval blockade to deliver aid to Gaza was intercepted by Israeli naval forces Wednesday night. Protests and demonstrations have sprung up all over Europe and globally since then, but they have been particularly strong in Italy. Leave it to the Italians. Italy's conservative Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni had sharply criticized the strike. She anticipated it would cause widespread disruption across the country and said it was politically motivated and targeted her right-wing government. Now she's, saying it affects her. According to the CGIL union, 300,000 people marched through the streets of Rome alone, while the national average participation in general strike stood at around 60%, halting all the main services in key sectors, including transportation and schools. In Florence, protesters approached the gates of the Italian national soccer team training center and demand its upcoming World Cup qualifier against Israel not be played because of the war in Gaza. And fam, it's kind of interesting that this next piece came out. Let's get to the next article, because we have said before, and people have talked about, Ireland and some politicians in Ireland and the people in Ireland wanting to stop what's going on in Gaza because their country is helping funding it. They're doing trade with Israel. The Irish government is still doing trade with Israel, and they want that stopped. Yeah. The people of Italy are standing up, but the foreign minister and the government are standing with the West. Italy's Meloni says she has been denounced to the ICC for complicity in genocide. This just came in yesterday, October 7th, fam. So in the ICC, they've been paying attention, and they must have said, all right, now is the time to strike. The people are on our side. They're shutting it down. Let's go put some pressure on Meloni. And I think this is now going to give a little ammunition to the protester and the people in Italy who want to stop this war in Gaza to really go and now remove her, fam. Your thoughts?
I mean, I if anybody's going to do it, it could be the Italians. It could be the French. We were not there yet, but they could do it. It's very telling that there's a complete contrast between the way the people of Italy are feeling and what they're willing to do versus the government, right? Versus who's in power. And that means to me that there's going to be a shift in government, I think, in the near future in Italy. So I agree with you on there. But also to your point about protesting and, interrupting traffic here. Unfortunately, when you protest, you're destabilizing the status quo. So that's going to happen. It depends on people, how far they're willing to go for something. And I think in the United States, we wouldn't go that far for Gaza or Palestine. That's just coldly saying it. But if it came to something affecting the pockets of the American people or affecting them directly, that's when you would see them actually stop and not care about interrupting services or anything. But we're not at that level yet. We don't think like that. We don't think of, hey, well, maybe I won't go to work, but what can we collectively do as a society to help each other out so I don't have to go to work, so I can protest, so I can do these things for long term, so we can change things. People just focus on, I need to go to work. You need to go to work to maintain the status quo. But if you're actually trying to break that, then you have to shift radically what you were doing before. And in the United States, we can't even begin to grasp the concept of what that would look like. So we're not there yet, but people in these countries, whether it's Italy, whether it's France, whether it's Spain, or even in the global South, where we have seen the way people have, put themselves on the line to change their governments, they understand that because they haven't had the choice of not. So that's another conversation for another time, fam.
We got to get out of here, so let's get to the last tweet of the day, guys. Thank you so much. All the links down below to help us out, help out independent media. It's been a little bit of a crazy year and a half, 2 years, but it's kind of cool to do. The TruthWire is still rocking, aka the Convo couch, what we were, what we are, but what we're going to be and what we're going to continue to do. So look for us in the future to continue to keep rocking all the things we do, and with your help, we can get back out there. We're going to try to get back out to Honduras this year to cover that election. There's a lot of other things going on. We have the whole Prospera situation, which really goes into a lot of what they really want to do. They want these autonomous zones, where it's totally fascistic, and those with a lot of money can come in, not have any laws, any rules, any regulations, do whatever they want. There's going to be some Dr. Monroe stuff, or what's the Dr. Zhivago, whatever his name is, all the crazy experiments that are done on those islands.
Definitely not Dr. Zhivago. That's the movie.
That's what I'm saying. There's a movie out there that they did like testing on people.
No.
And that's what they can do over in these like places like Prospera. But go ahead and get to the last tweet. We'll get on out of here. We want to thank you all for helping us out today.
So it says breaking. Pro-Palestinian protesters are attempting to storm BlackRock headquarters in New York City. A lot of the right's going to say this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. This is actually really good. It's BlackRock. What more power can you be attacking? Now, of course, you can attack different levels of BlackRock's power. This isn't going to do so much, but it's symbolic because it is BlackRock, and we know BlackRock is buying up pretty much everything in the United States. So I'm all for people actually going after BlackRock instead of going after, people that they don't like,
Yeah. This is awesome. It's kind of crazy to see the way people were going after Larry Fink and BlackRock, but right before Donald Trump got in, he started taking meetings with Larry Fink and discussing stuff about his finance administration, his finance cabinet, and all of a sudden people stopped criticizing BlackRock from the right. You still get people doing it, but they also want to kind of make a separation between Donald Trump and BlackRock, as if Donald Trump once again is the victim and these people are the real predators and he has nothing to do with it. Oh, that's awesome. Man, we got to take down the deep state. Summer heat. Let's go. Natalie Triumphs. Get it. Take down the deep state. Taking Down the Deep State by Natalie Triumphs. Amazon best-selling. We love you. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. I want to thank Jayme CheeseSlice on the ones and twos, who also came in and gave some great opinions out there. I think that we were able to really dive into this whole situation. Fam, I love doing these shows with you because you have a great explanation of how things are taking place. But I think because we've lived this whole life and we understand what it's like, for us to say stuff that, once again, ivermectin. Like, people are talking about ivermectin. I challenge people to go out there and find a video about ivermectin before the one I did with James Roguski. We were talking about this stuff before it was cool, and we paid a price. We got censored, demonetized, the whole 9 yards. So it's just a great doing these shows with you. It's Dr. Monroe. Moreau or Dr. Monroe? It's Dr. Moreau. The island of Dr. Moreau. That's what's going on in Prospera, right? So, guys, thank you so much. Come listen to tonight at 4 p.m. Eastern in just about an hour and a half, 2.5 hours, excuse me, us doing the Drive Time show on WBAI. Fam, when is your next episode with Vanessa coming out?
Right now, I got to go record it, and then I'll put it out shortly after that. So I got to get going, y'all. So I'll keep y'all posted, and we should do a show probably next week, Pasta. We will.
Next Thursday, I'm taking off to Texas, El Paso, though, for 3-4 days to do the Third Eye Carnival with your best friend, Steve Poikonen.
Oh God.
Slow news day. I still love him. He might be an asshole, but he's my asshole, fam. It's
Jesus Christ.
My boy, but he's doing the Third Eye Carnival, and I'll be out there. I'll be bartending, actually, making mezcal palomas, my watermelon drink with vodka, and a few other aqua fresas and fun things. So come check us out, thirdeyecarnival.com. Just a regular day learning Spanish, fam.
This is such a white person meme. Anyway,
thank you for watching, guys. We're out. We'll see you next week. We love you. Peace out.